Welcome to this special edition of the Journal Editorial Report, our look back at the biggest stories of 2013. I'm Paul Gigot, and joining our final panel of the year is Wall Street Journal columnist and deputy editor Dan Henninger, editorial board member Dorothy Rabinowitz, columnist Mary Anastasia O'Grady, and assistant editorial page editor James Freeman. So let's get right to it. Dan, certainly a lot to talk about. What's your choice?
Well, I think obviously the biggest story of the year was Obamacare, officially the Affordable Care Act. And it isn't just that it was a big story in itself, but it also has a story in what it has told us about the future of liberal governance. Barack Obama came into the presidency, and from the first inaugural speech, he told us he was going to deliver benefits from the government. The government should be able to do that. In fact, 2 weeks ago, he even said, "We are all the American people, the government. The government is us." They introduced Obamacare, and the first thing that didn't work was the website. It just simply didn't function. And this was when people expect websites to work. But I think in some ways the more important thing is the cancellation of the policies and the limited choice of doctors. This was not a failure of the act. It was intended to work this way. In other words, policies would be terminated. People would go into the ones defined by the act because they were broader, and this would be a good thing. Instead of being a good thing, people are turning against the idea of a plan like this. Normally, big government operates below the surface. This one has been all up for everyone to see, and it's been a bad experience for promoters of the idea that government can help.
And has gone directly to the question of the president's credibility, Mary, because what's happened is that his promises, you keep your policy if you like it, and you can keep your doctor if you like him, directly undermined by the bill itself and the way it's rolled out, but also the way it was designed. This was intentional.
Absolutely, and I think, you have all these testimonies from people who voted for the president and now finding out that they feel like he actually lied to them. So that's very distressing for his former supporters. What really amuses me is how the millennials seem to be waking up to this president that they played a large role in putting into office, and now all of a sudden they're realizing that, government doesn't create wealth. It has to come from someone, and they didn't realize it, but they're supposed to be one of the suppliers.
Liberalism is suddenly expensive again. For years it was not so expensive, and now people are discovering it costs money and a lot and maybe in other ways.
Yeah, I think not just the millennials, but all Americans, when you look at polls, are returning to the natural distrust, the healthy distrust of government that I think is really our tradition and has served us well. And I think in a lot of ways it could only get worse. You look at these initial reports that people are not signing up, especially healthy people, especially young people. So what it means is, along with all the problems of the last few months and the canceled policies, you're going to see a big premium spike next year. All right. Well, let's move on to another subject. Mary, your choice.
My big story for the year is the oil and gas revolution in North America. In the last 4 years, Paul, we've had $150 billion in new foreign direct investment come into the U.S. in the shale fields. And basically what's happening is that we're having a gusher, an oil gusher. We have 800,000 barrels per day increase between now, per year, between now and 2016, where we'll reach 9.5 million barrels per day. And that's 2 million barrels per day higher than the Energy Department forecast this time last year.
Well, that's happening in places like Pennsylvania, North Dakota, and Texas.
And this is really a technology revolution, because what's happening is the drillers can actually see through the rock because of the seismic. It's really a seismic technology that allows them to know where the oil is. That's what the real change is. And of course, put that together with fracking, and you have lots of new supplies. So the U.S. is a big energy producer now. Canada has been an oil gusher for at least a decade, and now Mexico's joining in by allowing private investment into what has been solely a state-owned sector.
Big competitive implications for the North American economy, for manufacturing in particular, potentially users of energy, manufacturers and the chemical industry and so on.
Yeah, it's really it's a huge change, and it couldn't come at a better time, because we catalog all of the mistakes coming out of Washington, all of the policies, Obamacare and other things that are a big drag on hiring, a big drag on productivity, and countering that is roughly $4 natural gas makes manufacturing in the United States a lot more appealing and efficient and competitive.
All right, let's move on here for the third, your story, James.
Yes, I think the biggest story of 2013 was the IRS scandal, the deliberate targeting of Tea Party groups leading up to the 2012 election. And I think it's really, as bad as Obamacare has been, as positive as this energy revolution is, I think the IRS scandal is really the biggest story of the year, because it goes right to the heart of our democratic process. You're talking about an agency of the federal government attacking the opponents of the president, and really in a close election possibly having an impact on the outcome.
Why is the scandal vanished then? I mean, it seems to have gone away in terms of,
well, it's partly the
mainstream media and so
but
on.
They may not be able to stonewall forever, because what's happened relatively recently is that the Obama appointee, William Wilkins, who's the IRS chief counsel, was interviewed by House investigators, and basically didn't recall, avoided answering dozens of questions. I think as they continue to look for documents, and let's hope the congressional and private litigants continue their effort here, I think we may learn more.
Dan?
You know, it says something about the mood of the country right now, Paul. I mean, polls show that belief and faith in government is at an all-time low. I mean, almost dangerously low. This is an example of the sorts of reasons people have, and I think no matter what their politics, to wonder what is going on in Washington. It creates a very deep level of distrust.
And it undermines the ability of government or Congress to accomplish goals that might actually be constructive, for example, like immigration reform, things like that. And it undermines trust in things we need for our security, like the National Security Agency's surveillance policy.
And the lies, Paul, are exceptional. I mean, you can talk about presidents who who lied to us about the war and about hidden munitions and all of that, but when you got to Obamacare and that outright lie, this is the most permanent, incandescent lie that will live in the hearts of Americans. People can simply not get past it.
All right, Dorothy, thank you.